We spent the day in Ramallah, which serves as the de facto capital of the disputed state of Palestine. Often called an open-air prison, we were surprised to find that despite the poverty and high unemployment rate which plagues the West Bank, the city of Ramallah was filled with life and bustling with energy. Interspersed between the cream and white-coloured 2 to 3 stories high apartment blocks so common to the Middle East were gold-laden jewellery stores, expensive cars, and shopping malls that look better than those in Central and Eastern European countries. And confusingly, a very large amount of knockoff American and Western stores. When we set out into the West Bank, we were really unsure of what we were going to film or do, and initially we planned a simple vlog. Our guide for the day was Mustafa, a former stone thrower, more on him later, to embark on what we thought would be a simple vlog filming expedition. After driving into Ramallah, our first stop was Stars and Bucks, which is essentially a Palestinian twist on Starbucks. We spent an hour or so relaxing there and listening to Mustafa telling us the Palestinian side of the Israel-Palestine story.
It's an Arabic saying. He will say, American don't know. Half of the American, even they don't have passport. American, they support Israel. American, they need a stable in the Middle East, which is Israel. Many American leaders, they said, if Israel wasn't there, we have to create Israel to put an eye or to put a leg in the Middle East.
We attempted to film some street interviews, but most Palestinians were unwilling to speak with us. We're struggling to get answers, partially because people are concerned that if they do talk to us on camera, if they do say what they think, they will be blacklisted by the Israelis and they will not be able to get work in Israel. You want peace with Israel?
I can't talk this.
Okay.
بعيد عنه.
Fair enough. I understand.
Yes. When
we turn the camera off?
Yes.
Okay.
When you stop.
When we stop filming?
Yes, I can't talk.
Okay.
Because can you stop this?
Yes. Until Mustafa himself grabbed the mic and asked the questions himself.
هذا طلع هو الشيطان الأساسي وحكومتهم يهودية واليهود اللي بتحكم.
To get the full experience, we ventured into the city, trying our best to blend in. I ended up getting a great value haircut at the local barber. We're struggling to interview people in the streets, so I'm just going to get a haircut.
Sure, man, no worries. I know Lewandowski.
Oh, Lewandowski, there we go.
Lewandowski goes for the goal! You just cannot be that good!
Literally the most famous Pole.
Spotted and tasted Logan Paul's prime in a market by the imposing Abdel Nasser Mosque.
Who's the influencer?
Logan Paul.
Make it 3.
I'm sure it's about expert, that's why they sell it cheap.
It tastes like an influencer made it.
And then we visited the mausoleum of Yasser Arafat. In a city that is 99.9% Palestinian, we inevitably drew a lot of attention, not all of it friendly, making it difficult and stressful to film. The only content we really got was that of our fixer Mustafa and a few rare interviews. That's why we have restructured this video and built around our day with Mustafa. So let's rewind and start at the beginning. The infamous Qalandia checkpoint in Jerusalem. Often do you take journalists to Ramallah? No. Journalists rarely go into the West Bank, mostly because of the numerous dangers involved in traveling to this increasingly violent and unstable area. The risks include being caught in crossfire, getting kidnapped, or simply random acts of violence while on the road. Journalists are advised to travel in groups with a Palestinian fixer and with Palestinian security. Since October 2023, at least 29 journalists have been detained by Israeli forces and 3 by the Palestinian Authority.
Okay, welcome to Palestine.
We met Mustafa on the West Bank side of Qalandia, which serves as the primary IDF checkpoint between the northern West Bank and Jerusalem, and it is famous for being a frequent site of demonstrations against the Israeli occupation. The Chronicles of Jerusalem are a gigantic quarry from which each side has mined stones for the construction of its myths and for throwing at each other. And the Palestinians took the stone throwing very literally, to the extent that it is one of the symbols of the so-called Palestinian resistance. It has generated some of the most iconic photos of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Numerous Palestinian poems and popular songs celebrate the heroism of children who throw stones. A popular song of the First Intifada says, Palestinians often describe stone throwing as a symbolic form of non-lethal protest, but at least 14 Israelis have been killed by Palestinian stone throwers, including 3 Arabs mistaken for Jews. The State of Israel has passed laws to sentence stone throwers convicted of the charge to up to 20 years imprisonment. Our guide, Mustafa, turned out to have been one of those imprisoned for stone throwing at the age of 17.
I spent 2 years in the prison.
What for?
You see kids throwing stone?
I see.
I was one of them. That's a long time ago. In 2005. I was 17, yeah. This is another type of tear gas canister.
As my journey into the West Bank began, I quickly discovered that this was not to be the fact-finding expedition I had envisaged when I made preparations for this video. Mustafa, very honestly, declared that this was not a journey of truth, but rather an exploration of the Palestinian perspective.
By the way, you don't have to believe everything I say. I say what I think is true. I don't say the truth. I say what I think is truth. Because end of the day, you are here to listen the story from the eye of the Palestinian.
Yes.
And I am the eye of the Palestinian.
It felt fitting, given how much of the conflict is played out not in the battlefield, but rather in the realm of ideas and narratives, how so much of the debate around Palestine is based not in facts, but feelings, not in historical evidence, but slogans, not in history books, but in memes.
Because believe me, I met with some tourists coming to Palestine. They don't know anything. They don't know anything about Palestine or Israel. They don't know anything about the occupation. Imagine people coming all the way from London just to take selfie with Banksy graffiti and go.
In 2002, during the height of the Second Intifada, Israel began constructing this massive wall, 450 miles long, 38 feet high. Israel called it a security precaution to stop attacks. But for Palestinians, this wall wasn't just concrete, it was a land grab. Why? Because it wasn't built on the 1967 Green Line, the internationally recognized boundary between Israel and the West Bank. Instead, the wall cuts deep into Palestinian territory, carving out land, disrupting communities, and reshaping lives. In 2004, the International Court of Justice ruled the wall illegal. But here's the thing, court rulings don't necessarily get attention. Art does.
Graffiti is a good way to spread the news about Palestine. Banksy brings good attention.
And that's where Banksy comes in. In 2005, he turned the wall into a global stage. He painted 7 murals, each one a bold, thought-provoking critique of the occupation. Imagine a child digging through the wall to a paradise on the other side, or a ladder reaching toward freedom. These weren't just images, they were stories beamed around the world. He made it impossible to ignore. Banksy didn't just rebrand the wall, he rebranded the entire narrative around the West Bank. The world's largest open-air prison is to this day used to describe the West Bank. The claim that Palestine is an open-air prison has traveled far and wide and has become a talking point of Western pro-Palestine activists. We wanted to verify this claim, so one of the questions we asked Palestinians later that day in Ramallah was if they had ever traveled abroad.
عمرك سافرت برا فلسطين؟
لا والله.
وين حابب تروح؟
على أمريكا.
Have you been outside?
Yeah.
Where?
دبي UAE.
Have you been outside? Outside of Palestine? Have you traveled
Yeah.
outside? Where?
Turkey. No.
No. Have you been outside? Have you traveled outside Palestine? Where?
Turkey.
Turkey? Rome.
We wanted to find out from the inhabitants of Ramallah what struggles they face, because while the West Bank might not be an open-air prison, Palestinians certainly face numerous challenges and difficulties that those of us who live in Western countries do not.
طيب كيف الحياة اليومية تحت الاحتلال؟
الحمد لله هينا عايشين يعني الحمد لله رب العالمين شو بدنا نكون
مش ماشية.
فعين الله شو بدنا نسوي
فيش عندنا حرية تنقل أبداً يعني صرنا حتى في رام الله مثلاً نحكي اللي هي نحكي فيش معنى احتلال عايش بالضبط جواها صرنا ما نعرفش نتحرك منيح صار وقت ما بدهم بدخلوا وقت ما بدهم بيطلعوا صرنا نشوف يقتلوا الناس بدم بارد فالموضوع بحكي لك يتعلق أكثر إشي بإنه انعدام أمان في أي مكان من أراضي فلسطين سواء أراضي 48 أو الضفة.
Do you see the life under the occupation?
It's hard and difficult.
Difficult, hard?
It's hard.
No, I don't think that.
How do you see the life under occupation?
It's too hard.
It's too hard?
Too hard, and we want to live like any people in the world.
We don't have life. We don't have a future. Before you don't have a future, now we don't have more future.
Daily life under the occupation.
Daily life of Palestinian here is difficult for transportation between the city, even inside the city. You have a problem about the soldier. Maybe in one time he can come anytime, close the road, close the shop, close everything.
كيف الحياة تحت الاحتلال؟
والله صعب شوي والله صعبة
شوي ولا كثير؟
كثير والله. ضغوطات الواحد لا بيقدر يفوت ولا يطلع، واللي بصير في الناس واللي بصير في غزة خصوصا الله يحميهم يا رب، الله يرحم شهدائنا. والله ضغط كثير شوي، بس بدنا نتحمل بين الله، يعني في النهاية احنا الربحانين.
Does this victory end with a peaceful resolution, or does it end with another October 7th? We wanted to know whether the Palestinians we interviewed complaining about enduring hardships under Israeli occupation wanted a peaceful resolution with the world's only Jewish state.
احنا بدنا سلام ولا بدناش سلام؟
لا شو أقول؟
انت كل شو بدك اياه؟
انت سلام بدنا نصير صحبي معهم يعني؟
لا، ان احنا بنحب السلام.
شيء اكيد.
بدنا حياة.
اكيد بدنا حياة، بدنا الاحتلال يطلع يبعد عنا، يطلع من بلادنا، بدنا نعيش بسلام، بدنا مبسوطين، ما بدناش يعني كل الاشياء هاي، بس خلص هالشيء انكتب علينا، فلازم احنا نكون اقوى من هيك ونضل ورا القضية هاي ان شاء الله نربح.
ان شاء الله.
ان شاء الله.
Do you want peace?
Peace, yeah. Why not?
Do you want peace?
Yeah, of course.
Do you want peace?
Of course, the Israel of peace is different about Palestinian peace. Palestinian peace means give Palestine airport.
We as a Palestinian, do we want peace?
نو.
بدنا سلام؟
لا بدنا تحرر.
Okay, that's good question.
صراحة الأرض إلنا تمام، وإحنا لنا حقية فيها، ما بدنا سلام مع اليهود، بدنا نتحرر من اليهود إنه يطلعوا من أرضنا.
شكرا كثير.
عفواً.
From all the conversations I had, on camera and off, there is one very clear conclusion. The Palestinians clearly disliked Israel, but they also very clearly hate America, believing numerous conspiracy theories about the USA and its political class.
Because all in American president, he's followed the rules of the Israel.
كيف احنا بنشوف الامريكان والرئيس الامريكي؟
انه هذا طلع هو الشيطان الاساسي اللي بين علينا في هاي الايام اللي احنا فيها، هو الشيطان الاساسي هي امريكا.
تفرق عنا مين يكون الرئيس في امريكا؟
احنا بالنسبه لنا ما بتفرق، عشان كلهم يهود وحكومتهم يهوديه، واليهود هن اللي بتحكمهم. اعملوا هيك اعملوا هيك، هن يعني فيش يعني رئيس امريكا حقيقي الا كلهم يهود، يعني المخابرات عندهم كل هذا كلها من
هم متحكمين فيهم،
هم اللي متحكمين فيه.
But where did Palestinians get these views from?
Israel looking about not about Palestine. She looking for some area from Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, till Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, plus Saudi Arabia.
They need to take more than what they have.
Of course.
What or who formed their opinions?
Is it just a theory, or are we witnessing the execution of a carefully crafted plan? It's proof that what's happened in Gaza, in the West Bank, and now in Lebanon has never been about self-defense. Have we been watching on live stream a project for what is known as Greater Israel?
So what do you think about the Western media? CNN, Fox News?
All fake. Always I don't believe, because even...
Which one you believe?
Actually now, Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera, the Qatar-funded media giant that's shaping how millions of Palestinians see the world. It's the most visited news website in Palestine and the 10th most viewed site overall there. That's a lot of influence. But here's the problem. Al Jazeera isn't just news, it's propaganda. 6 of their journalists accused of ties to Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Some of their reporters praising the October 7th attacks openly. And it all makes sense when you zoom out, because Al Jazeera is bankrolled by Qatar, a country with a very clear agenda. Qatar's game plan? push Wahhabism, a strict, ultra-conservative branch of Islam, while positioning itself as the leader of the Sunni Muslim world. They use money, influence, and sometimes sketchy connections to make it happen. Let's not forget Qatar's track record. They've been tied to terror groups like Al-Qaeda since 2003 at least. US emails leaked in 2016 accused Qatar of funding ISIL, and Trump called them out in 2017 for supporting terrorism.
The nation of Qatar, unfortunately, has historically been a funder of terrorism at a very high level.
And Al Jazeera? It's part of that machine. Arab countries aren't fooled. Bahrain banned them in the year 2000. Egypt kicked them out in 2013 for inciting violence. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Jordan all blocked or banned Al Jazeera by 2017. Even Sudan shut their office in 2019. Meanwhile, Qatar's been putting on this modern Arab state facade for the West, and somehow, Westerners somehow buy it. But here's the reality. Al Jazeera isn't just news. It's not just a news outlet. It's a tool for a state with big ambitions, and peace in the Middle East is not one of them. I enjoyed my day in Ramallah, and I enjoyed many of the conversations I had, though often they were slightly confrontational, and I couldn't help but sense a permanent feeling that everything could rapidly turn sour. The glorification of martyrdom, the rejection of coexistence, and the widespread belief in conspiracy theories about Israel and the West made genuine dialogue difficult. I couldn't help but feel that there is no happy resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian issue, and that more bloodshed is inevitable. How much more blood must be spilled over this region? What would it take for a resolution that finally brings stability and ends the cycle of violence? I have no answers to these questions, and I don't think anyone else does either. But it does seem that while the path to an Israel-Palestine peace and coexistence remains doubtful, initiatives like the Abraham Accord offer a glimmer of hope for a better future in this very troubled region.